Are you going through an existential crisis? If so, this video is just for you. In today's video, we will be receiving wisdom and guidance from the tarot to support us in navigating our existential crisis. Hello everyone, I'm Yve-Spiritual Intuitive Guide and Coach, bringing you videos to support your soul's journey here on earth and your spiritual wellness. So when you get a chance, please hit the subscribe button and the notification button. Also like this video and share it with your friends, and I thank you. So in today's video, like I said, we are going to be using the Chaos Tarot deck to support us in navigating this existential crisis that we are going through. So what is an existential crisis? How do you know that you're going through one at all? Well, if you've been through this before, you are pretty sure when you're going through one. It's something that some of us get to frequent. For others, it's something that we've never experienced before. But an existential crisis has the word or the meaning right in the word existence. So it's a period in our lives where we find ourselves questioning our purpose for being. We begin to ask a lot of why questions, like why am I here? Why am I who I am? How do I fit into this bigger picture? Why does it even matter? So it becomes a very philosophical place where we just begin to question just about anything and everything. So like I said, some of us get to experience this frequently. So I'm one of those people. I find myself there frequently. I call it the black hole, or sometimes I call it my existential crisis, and I live there a lot. But I've learned my own unique way of navigating through it. So at this time, let me know in the comments below if you are going through an existential crisis right now. Is this your first one? Do you frequently go through existential crises? And if so, how do you navigate through them and out of them? All right, so I'll give you a few tips of my own at the end of the video, but now we are going to move toward the reading. So we will be utilizing the Chaos Tarot deck today, a deck that I've used in previous videos. I find that it's going to be a really good deck for this particular subject. So you may be wondering, how do I know if it's not depression? Because some of the symptoms of depression is when we get very deep and philosophical and start to question things. If you have any questions or concerns about that, please contact your healthcare professional who specializes in that area. So for the sake of this video, we're just going to focus on the existential crisis, knowing that it can be a deep, dark place that we find ourselves with a lot of different heavy emotions. You could say negative emotions or heavy emotions or dark emotions. But if depression is a concern for you, please contact the appropriate people. All right, so I'm going to give this Chaos Tarot deck a shuffle. So you're going through an existential crisis. How do you navigate out of it? What do you do? All right, I'm going to pull one card at a time. You may be wondering, am I actually going through one myself, personally? We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so this tarot deck, the Chaos Tarot, doesn't really look like the traditional Rider-Waite tarot deck. So you're going to see some different cards here bringing different types of information. And just right from this first card, I feel like I made the right choice with this deck. I knew when I was going to do this particular subject for this video that this would be just the right deck. So the first card, I'm going to show you in the upright position. This is Emergence. But we received this in the reverse position. So there's a lot of things going on in this card, but the first thing that comes to me is that there's this repressed energy or this closed energy as we're moving through this existential crisis. So this is not a time to be expansive and to really grow and expand in any kind of psychological, spiritual, or emotional way. It's really a time to just sit kind of with it, which is probably the hardest thing to do, is just to sit with it and just allow it to do what it's meant to do. What is it meant to do? Well, that could be something different for different people. But I know for me, it's an opportunity to learn more about myself, my spirituality, my psychology, and the world around me. It also gives me an opportunity to communicate with other people about it, or reach out to different resources to understand the world and what I'm going through. But sitting in this space is crucial. According to this card, it's not a time to get out there and be very expansive, but to sit right with it. Because emergence comes when you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So let's go ahead and pull another card. So I'm pulling what is called major arcanas here. So I pulled another major arcana, and I'll show you what I pulled in the upright position, but this I pulled actually in the reversed position. So this is the Lover's card. See those two dark circles there? Yeah. I'll tell you a little bit about what I pick up from this card. So whenever I am doing a reading that has nothing to do with romantic relationships or familial relationships or any kind of human-to-human relationship, the Lovers indicates for me the relationship with soul. The two different black circles there, one is you and one is your soul. So in the reverse position, this feels like there might be a disconnect, or you have forgotten that you are soul as well as human, or that there's just a spiritual disconnect overall. So what this card is indicating is that we need to return to something that we have spiritual belief in. If you're not a spiritual person, a religious person, or you're not really into any of that, just look at it as returning to your true self and your true essence, which is what I call soul. So there's this disconnect there. Let's go ahead and... Now, how do we do that? Everybody has their own unique way of returning to soul. I know that I go through these periods where I actually do forget that there's this other part of me, and my soul makes me remember, and usually that is through existential crisis. And so I return back to conversation with soul, connecting with it in every way that I know how, that I've learned how. And usually it is through communicating directly to it, talking to my soul. Let's see, what else do we have here? Another major arcana. So that's 3 in a row. So this is indicating that existential crisis or crises are part of the human experience that I believe most of us will experience at some point in our lives. And like I said earlier, some of us get to enjoy it more frequently. That's probably a personality thing, or maybe a pattern that we've learned over time. But having an existential crisis is just simply, taking a moment to evaluate life. And sometimes we're not doing it consciously, or we're thrust into it by some kind of external event. But we all get to that place where we reevaluate things and start to really question everything around us. So it's a big deal. I feel it's a big deal. 3 major arcana. The next one, again, in reversed. So the upright is the Strength card. Look at that intensity. So intense, so red. But we got this one in the reversed position. So the Strength card in the reverse feels like It's your opportunity, or it's your permission to be vulnerable. Nobody wants to be vulnerable. Nobody wants to feel those really intense, deep emotions. But this card is indicating that that's an important part of your existential crisis. Allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to cry, to grieve, to weep over nothing and everything, and to question things without finding answers, and to allow yourself to feel the frustrations, maybe the anger, whatever feelings you may have. This card is saying that we don't always have to be strong 100% of the time in everything that we go through, particularly with the existential crisis. It's okay to allow yourself to be vulnerable and to feel yourself through this experience. All right, let's see what's next. All right. So finally, we get just a minor arcana, again in the reverse position. This is the 10 of Fire, Ruin. So look at the intensity of that. It looks like some kind of big explosion. That green reminds me of something toxic as well. But we got this card in reversed. So for me, the minute I pulled this card, I felt like, okay, it's important to remember when you're in that deep, dark space of the existential crisis that it's not the end of the world. It feels like it. And if you feel like you're in the deepest, darkest place and it does feel like the end of the world, please remember to reach out to your mental health professional to support you in any way that they see fit for you. You never have to go through this journey alone, especially if you're feeling extremely vulnerable. And you begin to have thoughts like perhaps it is the end of the world. Please reach out to the appropriate people for that. But this card is indicating that it is not, even if it feels like it. Like your whole world, the sky is falling. And I live there. The sky is always falling. But sometimes it's really falling more than other times. But I have learned that there is an end to it. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Or how I like to say, it's like navigating the deep, dark woods and finally seeing a clearing where you walk out into this big expanse of openness where there's light and beauty and air and freedom. So if you experience these things regularly, you're probably well aware that you can see it coming and you can almost see it when it's ending, and you know when you're out of it. Let's pull one more card. So I'll go through these again, giving you the overall meaning of the whole thing. Okay. So we have one card, another. We're getting all reversed. Why are these all in reversed? Okay, so we got another reverse. I'll show you the upright. This is the Ace of Water. Kind of blends in with my background a little bit. But we got this one in reversed. So the Ace of Water is something new, but not. So I feel like I laugh because just the thing that came up was that this isn't new and it won't be the last time. So get used to it. So as a conscious human being, I feel like it's normal for us to question life. Sometimes we really get into it and we can kind of go really deep. But it's just not the last. It's something that we are designed to do, I believe. Some people never even think twice, and good for them. But for most of us, it's an experience that is part of our human makeup to question things. And sometimes we really get into it, and sometimes we're forced into it. But it won't be the last time. These are normal, recurring things. There are things that we can do to shorten it. There are things we can do to learn to see when it's coming. And there are things that we can do to help us move through it if we weren't able to avoid it. Because I think sometimes we can avoid it, sometimes we can't. But either way, it just seems to be something that is going to happen again. And because it's the water element, it feels like it's something that has to do with the feminine energy of our lives. Because it's not a doing. We're not doing, we're not making, we're not achieving, we're not going after anything. It's more about just allowing the self to experience and to absorb it and to allow, because it's going to happen again. And the more you just relax into it and allow it to flow, I think the easier it will be, especially if you're struggling with this right now. So let me just run through these cards really quickly one more time. Emergence in the reverse tells us, be still, don't struggle, stop trying to reach out, just allow, and allow it to just to be almost like a hibernation type of thing, hibernating from the world or from so much stimulation. The Lovers in reverse is telling us that there is a disconnect somewhere in our experience with ourself, with our true self, with soul, with our spiritual world. And this is a wonderful opportunity to reconnect with that. It's important to reconnect with that. The Strength in reverse is telling us that it's okay to be vulnerable as you experience this existential crisis. It's okay. You have permission to just feel everything. 10 in reverse, the 10 of fire in reverse, ruin. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world because Ace of water, it's going to happen again. You'll live to see another day of another existential crisis. Now, I like going through existential crises. That's just my thing, because when I come out of them, I learn so much about myself, my own personal philosophy. I attain so much personal wisdom. And I've learned that I survived every single one of them. And the more I am expectant of it, I find the less of them I have, because it's like I'm waiting and they're not coming. But I've learned to see it when it's coming, and usually to know what I'm doing that's causing it. And usually it's my own repetitive thinking, that circular thinking that kind of pushes me over that edge. And once I'm there, I do everything that I can not to get out of it or to rush it, but to get the most out of it. It's there for a reason. It's there to show us something about ourselves, to help us reconnect with our soul, to learn something that we haven't learned. It's not for nothing. There is a purpose in it. So that is my personal way of navigating my spiritual crises or my existential crises. So I hope that this reading has been helpful for you. Again, please do all the subscribing and all that. Leave a comment in the comment section below letting me know about your experience with existential crises. And if you're in the Houston area or would like a session with me, you can contact me at the phone number and email below in the description below. You can also go to my website, spiritualintuitive.guide, where you can learn more about me, my work, and also schedule a session right there on the website. So guys, thank you so much for being here. Good luck to you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Be well. Ciao.